Um, okay, guys, we're doing another What Did I Just Watch review today. And this is by far the most abstract of the ones we've done. But, yeah. Let's jump into it here. We're going to be reviewing the movie The Lobster. Now, The Lobster. I don't know much about it. As far as when it was made, who came up with this, why they did what they did, how they convinced Colin Farrell to be in this movie. I don't know. This was recommended to me by a friend, by my friend Hayden. Hayden, why did you make me watch this? Anyway, let's jump into this. So, The Lobster is about a man named David, played by Colin Farrell. And let's talk about the world he lives in first. The world he lives in is a world where if you are single, you can go to this hotel. And if I think you're there for 30 days, like minimum of 30 days. And if by the end of the 30 days you do not find a mate or match, whatever you want to call it, you are turned into an animal of your choosing. And this is how apparently the animal population is controlled as well. It kind of touches on that for like half a second once. Anyway, so David and his brother / dog goes to this hotel after him and his wife divorce. And he's been married for so long, he kind of doesn't have any redeeming qualities at this point. And everything in this universe is very literal, to the point of when you go to this place, you have to tell them what your main quality is, what your main distinctions are. And David's is the fact that he is short-sighted and that he's been divorced. So, there you go. But there's more to this hotel than just this. Because at this hotel, to extend the amount of days that you can stay, essentially making it to where you can be at this hotel infinitely and be single for the rest of your life in the comforts of the hotel, if you are inclined, they send you and all your other hotel mates into the woods to hunt what they call the loners. Now, the loners are people that didn't find a match and escaped before being turned into an animal. And these people are people that choose to be single. They are, and even within their society, they don't, like, get together in their own society of the loners. Like, dating is forbidden amongst them. If you're a loner, you are a loner. /the end. So, well, David is in this hotel, and he meets a couple other people. I think their names are Robert and John. I think Robert was a lisping man. That was his main characteristic, was that he had a very bad lisp. And you had John, who is referred to as the limping man. And these are the only three characters I remember even having names. Every other character, even when I looked up to make sure I remembered names correctly before doing this review, everybody is referred to by their characteristics. You had lisping man, limping man, heartless woman, nosebleed woman, all these different, like, that's what they're referred to as. So, these three kind of form a friendship. Doesn't really matter as far as the story goes. So, it gets to day 30. Robert is terrible at hunting. David is terrible at hunting people. Like, terrible at hunting people. So, it gets close to day 30. He realizes nobody here is a match for him. Nobody here is compatible with his characteristics. So, he decides that it's better to lie to yourself and be someone you're not than to be who you are and end up being turned into an animal. And also, the animal he chose is a lobster, which is why the movie is called The Lobster. How convenient. And his reasoning behind it is that he wants to be immortal if he becomes an animal, since lobsters technically never die unless something encounters them in their environment. They technically are immortal. So, anyway, back to what I was saying. So he decides to be somebody he's not. And doing this, he finds a woman who is referred to as the Heartless Woman. I do not remember her actual name. We'll go with the Heartless Woman, since apparently Wikipedia doesn't feel the need to actually go into detail. Neither should I. So, he finds her, and literally, she is heartless. She has no soul, no emotion whatsoever. And the way that he decides to woo her and make her think that they are compatible is, first off, a woman decides that she'd rather die than become an animal. So she jumps out of the second story window of the hotel and breaks her legs. Doesn't kill herself, just breaks her legs. It makes a whole lot of a racket, and while this happens, David, instead of showing empathy or anything, he goes up to said heartless woman and is like, well, I hope she shuts up sooner or later. I'm planning on taking a nap in my room, and I really hate to be interrupted by such a wailing and annoying scream. Or something along those lines. So, this doesn't completely woo her. It wasn't until they're in the hot tub later that day that she tests him. She takes a olive out of her martini and pretends to choke on it, and he just watches blank-faced. And so she is led to believe that he is indeed heartless, and so they get together. And when you get together at the hotel, they take you from your one bed suite to your two beds, to your couple suite. Not two beds, couple suite. And this is where the nitty gritty comes into play, because she is led to believe that he is heartless as her. So she just is constantly testing this. And gets to the point to where when they're having sex, that she's like, look me in the eyes, just to see if there's any emotion on his face while they're sitting there having sex. And then, like I said, his brother is a dog and he keeps him with him. So, in David's sleep, she kills his brother. And when he wakes up, she's like, well, I wanted to hear that story you were talking about yesterday. Oh, and by the way, I killed your brother. I kicked him to death in the bathroom. He was making a horrible noise and so forth. And he has to stay stone-faced during this. But eventually he snaps and he starts crying, and she says, I'm going to report you to the hotel. He then has to dispose of her. He turns her into an animal and then escapes and becomes a loner. Well, then he gets to the loners' colony, and the loner leader welcomes him in, and eventually he runs into Robert again while they're out hunting them, and he's able to steal Robert's gun. Then they go into the hotel at one point, and this is where the story kind of collapses in itself, in my opinion. Like, it's like an Act 1, Act 2 scenario. You have Act 1 is at the hotel, and Act 2 is in the loner colony. And Act 2 just wasn't as interesting to me. I don't have a reason why. It just wasn't. So, yeah. So I'm going to skim over that some. Like I said, I recommend y'all watch this yourselves to get your own opinions. But anyway. So it ends up that he falls in love with a woman who is also short-sighted. And so they have that characteristic. Like I said, that's the mentality of this world, is that you can only marry people with matching characteristics. And the loners, they actually go into town posing as couples to get supplies and such as that. Well, eventually, the leader finds out that David and the short-sighted woman are engaging each other, and so she decides to take away that characteristic from the short-sighted woman by taking her to get LASIK surgery. But she's paid off the surgeon to actually blind her and take away all of her vision. So this actually comes... She does this, and that comes between David and this woman, and it actually causes some hostilities. But eventually they decide to escape from the loner colony and go live in the world as a couple as best as they can. And to do this, David believes he has to blind himself. So he stabs himself in the eyes with a steak knife. Movie. Okay. I get what this movie was trying to do. The movie's trying to discuss our society's, inability to be single. There's this big mentality nowadays of you have to be in a relationship. You have to be married by a certain time. You have to, only date these kinds of people. You can't date outside of your, social circles. So, and that's what this movie's touching on, is these beliefs. I get that. But they did it in the strangest way. Like, I was confused 80% of the movie. That being said, it's not a bad movie. I can't call it a bad movie. I got what it was going for. The acting, if they meant to be monotone, because everybody would talk like this. There was no emotion to their talking. There was no thought behind it. It was simply one-toned acting. This entire movie was spoken in this manner, and it slowly drives you insane. But yeah, so that's how the movie is acted. Did they mean for it to be that way? For every actor and actress to be on the same page with it, it had to be in the script somewhere. So that was one of my pet peeves, because I started noticing about halfway through Act 1, I was like, no emotion these people's talking. Anyway, interesting concept of the fact that if you do not get married, you are turned into an animal, because the only point of being human is to be in a couple and to repopulate. That's the whole point of humanity, according to this movie. So, good on them for that. But overall, I recommend you watch the movie. For nothing else than to see this sort of experimental movie making. It kind of reminded me of the movie The Antichrist with Willem Dafoe, because it was kind of that style to me. But anyway, it's available on Amazon Prime for free to stream. I'm sure you can find it in other mediums as well. Watch it. Put in the comments down below what you thought. I would love to discuss this movie. This is a very discussable movie. Disgustable is what I was about to say. Discussable movie. So yeah. Let me know. If you like this review, please leave a like. If you want to see more content, hit that subscribe button. And I do have a couple more videos. I have another what did I just watch video coming out soon for the anime Ghost Stories, which if you know what it is, you know what to expect. I also have the Aki Bento box came in yesterday, so I should be doing that unboxing with James coming up. I'll also be doing some unboxings with my friend Bobby coming up, so that's going to be some fun stuff to look forward to. And as always, I love all of you, and I'll see you on the next video.